Marky, Billson. And Sports by Brooks has a very interesting, I guess you could call it, tweet up that will have a lot of Tennessee Volunteers fans buzzing and buzzing and buzzing about. They report that Phil Fulmer is basically, he's calling up Peyton Manning and saying, hey, let's look for some possible replacements for Jeremy Pruitt. Now, if this happens, it shows to me just how clueless Phil Fulmer must be as an athletic director, because it was just a year ago he was reassuring us that Jeremy Pruitt was a good head coach. And while I realize Pruitt's record as Vols coach is 6-10 and Tennessee is 1-3, and it looks like they're going to regress from a 5-7 season in 2018, it's still real early. Just a year ago, great coach, you're still in a rebuilding mode and all this, and now the report is you're calling up Peyton Manning to give him the axe. Now, a lot of people are skeptical. I'm skeptical for that same reason. I mean, what would Phil Fulmer's word be if one year he's the man, trust me on this, and the next year, after, a loss to Florida, which has become an annual thing for Tennessee anyway, you are looking to rid yourself of Jeremy Pruitt. I'm just also going to say this. I don't know that Phil Fulmer knows how to hire a head football coach. He's done it twice. He was very instrumental at East Tennessee State in hiring Carl Torbush to be that program's first coach when their program was revived. Carl Torbush was 11-22. Carl Torbush, and I've talked to Phil Fulmer about this when I was writing for Saturday Down South, that he was, we kept getting good reports on Torbush and all this, but he was a product of Fulmer's era, not necessarily 2015, which is when Torbush began coaching. And of course, Torbush was 11-22 at ETSU. Jeremy Pruitt's now 6-10. That means that Phil Fulmer's head coaching hires are now 17-32. And it just looks like yesterday trying to hire for today. And it shows me also, if this report is true, I mean, that's always been, if this is true, what must have gone on internally? Because although, yes, Tennessee is losing, you would think that with years left on the contract, the buyout, etc., that you would give Pruitt a little bit more time. Well, maybe he'll get it. Maybe he'll turn things around this year. But the next 3 games are Georgia, Mississippi State, and Alabama. Those are all likely losses. So a 1-6 start is, almost assured. The report that Peyton Manning might help Fulmer out to find a coach, however, really, I find that to be incredible. And it also shows me how, Fulmer, 10 years out of the game, and maybe not into the contemporary. Because what does Peyton Manning know about hiring a contemporary college football coach? He's not in the college football business. Sure, he's a legend. Yeah, maybe he'll wind up being an NFL executive someday and all this. But where does that result in finding a college football head coach? I don't get that. And again, these are the ties that Fulmer has. Nobody that really is working college football now, it's, Peyton Manning. Okay. What kind of a coach could Tennessee get? That's another question here. Do not look for a Mike Leach to come in, because I'm going to tell you, if this report is true, then it would seem that there has been some sort of internal disagreement between Pruitt and Fulmer. Perhaps Pruitt thinks that Fulmer is too meddlesome, what have you, and they can no longer work together, if this is true. Okay. But if that's the case, then Fulmer's going to have the reputation of being meddlesome. Just like after Greg Schiano, was, well, the kibosh was put on him by the Tennessee Volunteers fans when it was announced that he was going to be the next Tennessee coach. And other coaches didn't want to come to Tennessee because of that. Too much pressure. Really yesterday's program, and if I don't do big things like they did 20 years ago, if I go 8-4, I'm not going to be a popular man. So you're going to have to find one of three people. A coordinator somewhere who's just desperate to become a head coach. Hey, he's going to get a paycheck of 3-point-something million a year. Of course, maybe it'll only be for a few years or so, but I'll retire a rich man. So there's no, that's one guy you would get. The other would be in a similar situation, a coach from, let's say, one of the other big Power 5, I say Power 5, excuse me, one of the other 5 Division I football conferences in FBS, Sun Belt, Conference USA, that sort of thing. I say look to Willie Fritz at Tulane. He's got a lot of small coaching background, but he's really turned every team he's ever had around, including Tulane, who's just coming off of a victory against Houston that not a lot of people saw coming. That would seem to me to be a get that Tennessee could have. Willie Fritz. That might be a name to remember. The other thing you might be able to get is somebody out of coaching. But the thing is, whoever you bring in, if this report is true, it's become apparent that Fulmer would be always looking over your shoulder. So you've got to have someone really without a whole lot of experience and all that. That was Jeremy Pruitt. He was only a decade away from coaching high school. If this is true, like I said, you have to find somebody else who's willing to do that. And that makes it real tough. It also makes it basically an impossible situation for the Vols to be turned around as they head to their third straight losing season. I'm Marky Billson.